Many of the beats that were used in the album were actually inspired by Jimin's melodies. The process of creating the album was more spontaneous. It seems that they would start with some beat, but it often changes so drastically, and it's primarily driven by Jimin's ideas, often by his melodies. The face off intro came from him, and the main beats came from his melody. The beat of Like Crazy, the Carrier single, came about because Pdog heard Jimin humming. From accusations of using ghostwriters to talks of Pdog having done the majority of the album, there has never been a shortage of effort to discredit Jimin's contribution to his own album. What this documentary clearly demonstrated is just how much he drove and influenced not just the narrative but the actual beats, melodies, and lyrics. Pdog himself acknowledged that even with a prepared beat, they would end up scrapping it because of Jimin's ideas. I hope that this is not the only documentary that they will be releasing in relation to the creation of Face, because I feel like, as much as I got a lot from this documentary, I feel like there's still so much that they didn't show, things that they cut out. So I hope that there's more coming. But so I am taking a break from the songwriting process and style analysis of BTS members, just because I wanted to do this 10 things about Jimin's production diary. But before we go back into the video, please consider liking the video if you do end up liking it. Also subscribe and hit that notification button so that you know when there's a new video getting published. And of course, share the video if you can, because that's really helping my channel. Okay. Fragments of Jimin's developing artistic process. Jimin has shown so much range in production, from beats to melodies to arrangement to lyrics. We need to keep in mind that this is the first time he's actually creating something all his own, cover to cover, beginning to end. I think it would be safe to say that this is the first time where he has been the primary driver in the creation of an entire album. But if you really pay attention, you will be able to spot the raw creative skill he has in every aspect of production. He has come up with beats that spawn many of the songs towards a different direction. The very first one, Face Off, came from his random piano playing. In the unreleased track, Wanna Have a Drink, he was giving direction to Pdog on what to do. In Like Crazy, he experimented in adding more elements to the song. In Set Me Free, he was giving instructions on how to do vocal comp. And technical refinement aside, each of the songs in the album sounds so refined. His decision to work only with Pdog was artistic as much as it is strategic. This is an assumption on my part because Jimin didn't actually voice it out this way, at least not yet. But I feel like working with such a small team, Pdog, Evan and Ghost Loop, gave Jimin some security and freedom. This is practically Jimin's first foray. Since 2013, he has always been with his six brothers. But with his first album, he is actually all alone. And I don't know, of course, I don't know how he felt exactly, but I could just imagine the confusion, the uncertainty. But BTS has been working with Pdog for a really long time. Given that this is his first major project, working with someone familiar could have given him a sense of security, but also felt enough freedom to actually just push and experiment. But also, Pdog seems to know Jimin really well. He knew how to encourage Jimin to actually come out of his shell. And take note that Pdog wasn't the one calling the shots, it was Jimin. Jimin was the one providing direction, Jimin was the one giving ideas, and it was just Pdog's job to put everything together, because that's the job of a producer, to pull all the ideas together, the different elements, and make it one cohesive work. And Pdog made Jimin feel comfortable to just reach deep into his creative well and just continue experimenting. I can't help though but admire Jimin. He had enough wisdom to know who to work with, because at the end of the day, this is his call. This is his project. This is his album. He could have easily asked for more beats from other producers or just work with other producers and other composers, but he chose to start and end it with these three people, Pdog, Evan, and Ghost Loop. It's a small team, but it was more than enough for him to recognize his potential, what he can really do, and also learn what are the things that he can improve on as an artist. And that is maturity, and he does not get enough credit for that. Knowing who you should work with and how to get to where you want to be and learn how you can further your art, that is wisdom. Which leads me to my next point. We were able to witness his artistic growth. When he started with the album preparation, Jimin was mostly spontaneous. He would tinker with the keyboards or hum tunes, but he didn't seem to have a specific direction. He seemed to have been in the process of discovery rather than in a guided exploration. It sort of became the other producer's job, primarily Pdog's, to catch the result of his experiments. In fact, Alone's intro and overall direction came from Jimin spontaneously playing one of the keyboards in Pdog's room. Halfway through the preparation, he became more intentional, like there were scattered pieces of his creative process that he was slowly putting together. By the time they were recording Alone, he was more intentional and focused. He was giving very specific directions to Pdog on how he wanted the vocals to overlap, and he knew what he wanted from himself in terms of how he should be singing the songs. You can actually see the difference in how he was experimenting the first time in the recording booth to how he was directing himself by the time he was recording or re-recording Alone. It was absolutely exhilarating to witness, albeit fragmentedly, Jimin forming this side of his artistic process and experiencing this part of his artistic journey. In the beginning, I felt like he was a young artist discovering the faculties of his artistry, but by the end of it, I felt like he was an artist with faculties discovering how far he can actually push his artistry. I thought, wow, if this is what Jimin can do in his first album, imagine the bar, how hard he will raise that bar. There's going to be very few artists that will be able to reach it. Melody is Jimin's fortress. It's safe to say he did all the melodies. It seemed there would be some suggestions here and there, but in essence, the melody in the album was all his, and it made all the difference in the world. Not only is the melody an extension of Jimin's artistry at this point in time, but he also managed to create some of the most unique melodies in recent times. Each of the songs in Phase sounds so soothing and soft, but extremely hard to follow. We have heard so many covers of Like Crazy, and each of them has failed miserably. I think this is Jimin's signature. It sounds so easy, but once you try it, it's a different story. So just a short anecdote. I was watching a live performance of a popular singer from this country, and he's known to be a great singer, also a great live performer. I can't be more specific than that, or you'll know who I'm talking about, and his fans are gonna come after me. But anyway, I was watching him perform Like Crazy live. He was covering it, and he was absolutely tanking. it was not good. And I thought that's it. That is the kind of song that Jimin creates. He can make it look so easy, but you start singing it, and it's going to kill you. Vocal self-direction. I am sure you have all seen some behind the scenes of many recording sessions of an artist. There is always that one person that coaches the artist on how to sing, and they can get really granular. Sometimes this is the producer, but mostly there is actually a vocal coach. Jimin had no one. He was experimenting with how to sing the songs all by himself. And before this gets taken out of context, I am not talking about the basics of singing. Each song has to be sung in a specific way. There's a certain style that would be more appropriate to a song. One example would be Soyeon of G-Idol. She was giving her bandmates specific instructions on how to sing certain parts of a song. Sometimes it's the producer, sometimes it's a vocal director. But in here, Jimin had no one. He had to determine how to sing every part, experiment all on his own, and he got each of the parts perfect. Jimin's raw voice could have added an enigmatic periphery to the songs. You can hear him sing gibberish in many parts just to get the melody right, but it was in Alone when we clearly hear his voice with no autotune. That is his raw voice, no autotune, just him directly into the machine, and it sounded purely angelic. I understand that a vocal comp is needed, but I can't help but wish he would release a version of the songs with his raw vocals. There is something hauntingly soothing in his voice. It's like looking at the sky. Looks beautiful, very relaxing, but behind the facade of that soft blue hue are stars ending and beginning, black holes that devour everything including light, meteors destroying everything in impact. It's violent, brutal, and merciless. That's how I feel listening to his voice. There is so much depth, and I can't wait to hear more.
This really shouldn't be surprising to anybody. I mean, he's performed so many times a cappella, or he's being accompanied by nothing but a guitar. But I guess because I hear him more often from a speaker, the recorded versions of his song, so it's easy for me to forget. And times like this, I am reminded of just how gloriously angelic his voice is. I hope that he gets to show that more often.
A glimpse on how he processes his emotions. I remember Jimin talking about needing to be alone to process his emotions. If I'm not mistaken, that was after they won either their first music show or first Desang. It was a rare glimpse of who he is beyond the music that he presents. That seemed to have been reinforced here. He was writing the lyrics and later said that he figured out why he was saying the things that he was saying. He said that it sounded to him like he was giving excuses after excuses, and he couldn't really figure out why he was actually saying those things. Later on, he realized that he was saying it because he couldn't fix the things that were broken inside of him. If you connect it, he wasn't really providing excuses, with the lyrics that he was writing. He was simply expressing the anguish he was feeling inside. Of course, I don't know him personally, but based on what we have seen in this documentary, it seems that he is the kind of person that needs to let the details out first before he can actually make sense of the general emotion he feels. I thought it was just interesting to see just how much of Jimin's personality actually goes into the creation of this art, consciously or not. Jimin's own professional rhythm. There were so many moments in the video where everyone seemed to have been very, very tired. At one point, when they were stuck in one part of the song, Pdog actually suggested that they call it a day and just continue writing another time. But Jimin, our hardworking Jimin, asked for a bit more time. He also personally talked about how he pushed himself really hard. Alone, he said, was written in his car. He was trying to capture a feeling of sadness and misery, to be exact, at the time when he was already over it. He was already happy. So he had to dig deep and had to go to his car to write, probably to recapture the feeling of solitude. We all know that just about everyone who has worked with Jimin and their dog has testified to how hard Jimin works. And we saw that in this documentary.
But beyond just recognizing that he works hard, I think we do need to learn from it. Number one, we need to acknowledge that just because it works for Jimin doesn't mean that that's going to work for everybody else. This is how he works, and it has done him good. But we also need to appreciate the fact that at the age when the priority is be happy, just relax, you don't have to work so hard, appreciate and enjoy the things that you have instead of driving yourself to the ground working. You have this one guy that's showing everybody that he is achieving success because he is working hard, not because he's waving his fingers and ordering people to get things done for him. I think there is so much narrative behind not pushing yourself or not pressuring yourself, but you have this one guy that's actually showing you that he is pushing himself, that he is pressuring himself, because that's the way for him to achieve and get to the place that he wants to be. I think that has to be appreciated as well.
Even the biggest stars use a cavalry to put together their album. Jimin had a small round table. Almost every album nowadays would always use hundreds of people in production. Jimin became the first solo Korean artist and only second Asian solo artist to fill in a Billboard Hot 100 summit touching song with only 3 people in his team. The last time an artist this big created something this big with so small of a team was in the 60s, the Beatles, 4 people writing and producing all of their songs. This is monumental, not just for Jimin, but for the global music industry. He proved you can do it. You can make it happen. Hard work and talent, and you can do it. This is not to say that this is the only way it should be done, but at least he proved it can be done. I anticipate Jimin will spread his wings as he moves forward. That's just natural. I anticipate he will work with other producers and songwriters. Again, that's just part of an artist's growth. But this already proved, admit it or not, Jimin's artistry is on a different level. And this is just his maiden voyage.
I don't usually do this, but I was a little disappointed in how NME, People Magazine, and other traditional media and other influential online sites reviewed Jimin's production diary. NME was supposed to do 5 important things about the production diary, and 3 out of the 5 were not about Jimin. One was about Pdog, the other was about RM, and then third was the lack of process in the creation of the album. And the 2 things that they said about Jimin were both juvenile, one of which they said that Jimin would actually pace back and forth. He would walk around whenever he would do the work. And I was like, really? This is 70 minutes of gem. And this is what you get? I mean, this is an album in the age when albums of the biggest stars in the music industry would get 5 million people to work in one single album. That's an exaggeration. And this album that contains the very first song by a Korean soloist in a Korean language song that hit #1, and it was made by 4 people. And this is what you talk about. You talk about the artist walking back and forth whenever he would work. And People Magazine actually just threw in a word salad. I mean, come on. This is not to diminish the contribution of Pdog, of course, and of RM. But at the end of the day, it is Jimin's decision what advice he will take. RM provided a valuable advice. And even Jimin actually admitted that it made him rewrite the song. But if I tell, for example, Christopher Nolan, one of my favorite directors, to make a movie about, I don't know, bending time or Asia, and then I give him some information about Asian culture, and the movie actually end up winning an Oscar, is it going to be a credit to me because I gave him an advice or a suggestion? No, it's going to be his and his alone, because at the end of the day, it is his work. It will be his decision what to do and what not to do. Pdog was the main producer. And again, it is Jimin's decision on who to work with. He could have asked to work with other producers or for other producers and songwriters to give him a song. But he decided that he was going to start and finish it with Pdog and Evan and Ghost Loop. But everything was Jimin's direction. It was his ideas, and it was Pdog's job to put everything together, because that's what a producer does. You take all the raw elements together and make it into one cohesive work. I don't understand why it is so hard. It is so hard for many mainstream media to actually look at a work and artistic work and actually look into the merit of the work, actually examine and actually get valuable insights from what they are seeing or watching. I don't know why it's so hard. And I certainly don't understand why it's so hard for a lot of people to recognize the artistry of Jimin. He had a very clear creative vision. He showed efficient execution, and but there's a lot of people that are just missing that. And I have to admit that even I did not expect him to get to #1 of Billboard. I did not expect that he was going to get critical acclaim. But the minute I hear that, the minute I hear the album, I had to actually take a closer look at his artistry, because that's what you do when you encounter great art. You try to understand it, you appreciate it, because that is the least that you can do if you claim to be an art lover. Rant over. Okay, so I want to hear what you have to say. That's a lot. I want to hear what you have to say, of course. Please leave them in the comment section below. As always, you can say whatever it is that you want to say. Just make sure that you say it respectfully. Also, you can get in touch with me in any of the social media links that you see on your screen right now. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, because I'm going to convert that into an Asian entertainment and culture Twitter. And I'm going to leave all the personal stuff in my IG account. Okay, and if you end up liking this video, please give it a thumbs up. Of course, hit that subscribe button and that notification button so that you know when there's a new video coming out. And of course, share it if you can. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all.